Where do I come from, and what am I going to wear? These are questions I often get asked, and I am not a therapist. I'm a costume designer. Over the years, as growing up, I was constantly observing people, how they dressed, curious about myself. Would I ever figure out who I wanted to be? You can understand my questions. Movies and television have been a big inspiration on me since I was growing up. Many of you in this room may not know who this is. Alex Owens, Flashdance, 1983. Yes, it was R-rated, but I managed to go to the movie theater 6 times. There was no streaming or VHS, even DVD. She was mesmerizing, fearless, hardworking, had determination and grit. She was my hero. I remember getting the sweatshirt, styling it just like the poster, and what it felt like to put it on for the very first time. It gave me confidence. It wasn't just a sweatshirt. It was a recognizable symbol of a motivated person that I wanted to become. Now, most of us choose to dress and express ourselves. It's very important to our own self-expression. After college, I moved west from Missouri to Los Angeles. Much to the dismay of my mother, I took a risk in search of my own personal identity. I was going to make a mark. I just had no idea what I was going to do. I had several jobs, and I landed in a production office of a low-budget feature film. Now, I will tell you, I never studied film in a class setting, and I certainly had no idea that I would ever work on one. I was fascinated to learn how all the departments collaborated together to make this visual art brought from a script. I had no idea what a costume designer was. It never occurred to me that someone created the clothing, like a sweatshirt, for the characters on the screen that I had once aspired to be. I was hooked. I wanted in. So I was willing to work my way up from the bottom. Over the course of 13 years, I worked around the clock, nights, weekends, driving around the country from job to job, ultimately working my way up to an assistant costume designer. This was my education, my master class. I had a brilliant mentor that saw something in me and afforded me the opportunity to work alongside some of the most talented artists in Hollywood. But ultimately, I needed to step out on my own if I was going to achieve my goal of becoming a costume designer. I needed to take another risk. I just had no idea how hard it was going to be. Now, there are some misconceptions about my job. People will say, oh, I bet it's so glamorous, or you must love to shop. My favorite being, you see famous people in their underwear. Now, one of these is true, and I'll let you guess which one. But it's so much more than this. It involves detailed research, presentations, building clothing, distressing, overdying, directing, and delegating a team, all while staying on budget and on schedule, with a little bit of psychology and a whole lot of patience. I'm constantly juggling my own creative expression of what costumes reflect, while trying to gain the trust of actors, directors, producers, but most importantly, you, the audience. I never know what project's going to come next. I'm constantly amazed by the opportunities that I've been given. I've traveled around the world, working with many different people of different cultures. It's really incredibly overwhelming to start over every single time in a new environment with a new story. But in 2014, I had the opportunity to design a film called Beasts of No Nation. It was in Ghana, Africa. The story is about a boy, Agu, whose father was killed right in front of him. The rest of his family escaped, but Agu was captured by an army, and they forced to train him to fight against rebel forces with other young soldiers. Every single thing was sourced in Ghana. We made all the uniform shirts and yarn-wrapped amulets that adorned their clothing and hats. I overdyed everything over a propane tank. And we distressed everything by putting it in a cement mixer with the rubble outside the tiny offices. Needless to say, no one in the production office was excited about this technique, the loud engine turning over all day long. Glamorous, right? But I have to find a creative solution when I'm in an environment that doesn't have the things I'm used to, the resources. We shot in bombed-out buildings, jungles, mud-filled trenches, places I never expected to see. Some of the older soldiers in the film were played by men who had once been child soldiers themselves. What they were wearing, for me, no longer were costumes. They were pieces of their story. These men and what they endured are something I will never forget. This remains the hardest film I've ever done, but by far the most rewarding. Some films like these are about real-life tragedies. Others can be about heroic journeys. And then some can be glamorous fictional characters created in the mind of brilliant writers. So I'm going to tell you a few examples of a film I did in 2018 called Knives Out. It was a large ensemble cast, each distinctive, their own style, and I needed to create immediately who each one of these characters were. The clothing couldn't be a distraction. Our main character in the story is Benoit Blanc, played by none other than Daniel Craig, and if you don't know him, you may know him as the sexy, sophisticated James Bond 007. We had a unique opportunity and a difficult task to create a whole new persona, change the perception. So I went back to the past. I found things. I dug up some research. I looked at old ties, put suspenders on high-waisted trousers. I wanted him to disappear, to blend in. These were little details that gave his character some backstory. Another example, Chris Evans, famous for playing Captain America. In this film, Chris played Ransom Trombley, a wealthy white man-child who valued nothing, let alone his clothing. So what do? I don't know, I'll just put some holes in a classic fisherman sweater. Audiences went crazy for it. They said, people would say, oh my gosh, or he looks so great, what did you do? Well, I think maybe it's just who's wearing it, maybe. A hilarious tweet by Anna Menta read, the only thing I will say about Knives Out is that upon seeing Chris Evans in a sweater, the girl next to me gasped and said very softly and tenderly, sweater. Sweaters like this sold out around the world. Big stores, Etsy shops alike, the audience identified with it. They were having sweater viewing parties. I was thrilled to know that everybody connected outside of social media. People often ask, how'd you come up with it? It's really very simple. It looked so great on him, honestly. Cut to 2021. We're going into Glass Onion and Knives Out mystery. One by one, people began asking me, what will come up next? What will be the sweater? Wow, zero pressure, right? So on my first day, I get a call from Daniel and an email with references of iconic characters such as Jacques Tatia's Hulot or Cary Grant in To Catch a Thief. He had done his homework. His discussions with the director had evolved. But I couldn't figure out why the script said he had a shirt on in the swimming pool. So I went back to research of the past, dug up some cabana suits from the 50s and 60s. I went to the tailor. The shirt maker said he had shirts that were made for Paul Anka in the early 70s, and they had samples of swimwear that was made for Frank Sinatra himself in the early 60s. I thought, could this be it? There was somebody I had to convince, so I picked a fabric. We made modern-day advances for Blanc, and I presented it to Daniel. We added a neckerchief and some awkward sandals, little things that would give his character levity, and we laughed, and it was hilarious. We presented it to Ryan, our director, and he said, yeah, let's take a risk. So we jumped in, hoping the audience would respond in the same way. In addition to Blanc, there was a large ensemble cast, again, all new players. I was determined to make every single piece as much as possible. It was going to be difficult, but I wanted to give the audience costumes they'd never seen before. This was set in Greece, in the middle of a COVID pandemic. How hard could it be? But this was our first day of shooting. I was nervous. No one, including myself, had seen them all together. We couldn't be in the same room together. And would we know who they were? Would anybody understand these characters? Had I gone too far? Well, there was one character in particular that would let me make a statement. Enter Kate Hudson. She played Birdie, a larger-than-life fashion icon influencer that thought sweatshops were where they made sweatpants. Another line in the script read, when Birdie does a spin, the dress shimmers and seems to change color. What? This is where I thought I needed an education. I didn't understand. I asked the director, what's the goal? Is it supposed to be practical? Will it be CGI? He said it needed to be big and bold, and yes, very practical. So it was Edward Norton's character that was going to switch a glass to distract everybody that would poison Duke, played by Dave Bautista. So we started sketching some ideas. I had no idea what I was doing. I couldn't figure it out. How do I do something that's going to achieve this goal while being practical for a vacation in Greece? So I built some things. I tried. It was just not coming together. When you ask your friend or you ask your partner, how's my outfit look? And they say, oh, it's fine. No, fine is not good enough. I have to be amazing. I try hard, and I want to keep pushing. So I find myself in a fabric store, and I run across this Rainbow Dream fabric. Could this possibly be it? Had I found it? Well, I took another risk. I made it. And the director loved it. Except, as directors go, let's just do one more. Let's try something else. So we camera test 2, different options. But Kate, she who knew who Birdie was. She knew exactly which dress she wanted to wear. And she sold it. When an actor loves the clothes, I'll tell you, they will work it. All the clothes in the movie, I got so many responses. Audiences loved it, the distinctive styles, the bold prints, the colors. But this dress, in particular, stole the show. I got messages from around the world. Somebody even wanted it for their wedding gown. We all are characters amongst ourselves. How we dress, we can't be summed up by it, but it can empower us to show the character of the person we want to be. It can change the perception of people around us. I've never stopped observing. I'm in awe of the confidence people have about their own style, especially in a world where we can be made to feel insignificant in a matter of moments on social media. I often hope to be granted one wish, and that would be for each and every person to be able to step outside themselves, see how others see us, the character we are just as ourselves. In 2020, I was in an award ceremony. I heard someone say to me ever so graciously, I really like your suit. And I turned and looked in the face of none other than Jennifer Beals, my hero. Now, I have seen and been with actors forever and seen them in their underwear, but this was different. I had been seen by my hero. Later that evening, she presented me with the Costume Designers Guild Award for Knives Out. I couldn't believe that I was being recognized for my accomplishments standing right next to the woman at one point in my life who I aspired to be, who I wanted to become. I got to thank her and the costume designer for the very cool sweatshirt and for creating my Alex Owens. And along the way, I've realized that a little bit of me ends up in most all the costumes I do. So I hope that I can inspire someone, I can make a small difference, to take a risk, be bold, and remember, whoever you are, wherever you are or you come from, whatever phase of the journey you are on, there is no final destination of who we can be. We're always progressing. So I want you to remember that me and my fellow costume designers, we see you, we need you, and we are grateful for you. Thank you.